And as we dip into these layers, we scoop out the ingredients, we scoop out the muck, we scrape off the debris, the degrees of separation, the fabrication that we have created that has created a lock on self-distortion, if you will. And we recognize the different layers that are within us and the attributes that make up the human condition, that make up the human that we are. We confront ourselves and all layers and levels of ourselves, offering the ability to love ourselves and to recognize that we hold the key to our own divinity. We are the ones that must turn the key to open the lock that lets us out of our own cage from one perspective. We can only do this one click at a time. I'm seeing the Wizard of Oz clicking our heels together. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. We allow ourselves to connect in with some of the thoughts and systems that have kept us blanketed. Self-doubt is a huge key right now. For when we acknowledge that we are doubting ourselves, we turn that into a key. I'm hearing turnkey. So all of a sudden, it's already ready once we acknowledge that to then move into the next stage. I'm seeing like staging a home. They call it, I think, turnkey when a house is just ready to go. So that we could play with that on different layers. I'm inviting you, as you hear these words, to just tune into your heart, feel into your body. Let go of the need to analyze. Just relax as much as possible. For we have run away from ourselves many times, and we run away from ourselves no longer. In ancient times, we gathered together. We reflected on our truths. We reflected on our roots. We reflected back at one another as brothers and sisters over the fire, stirring up stories, recipes, sharing stories, recipes. Wow. I'm just seeing our indigenous brothers and sisters and standing around the fire and dancing and creating stories, and the children hearing the stories of the parents, and just this beautiful community. And when we came together in this way, we were able to work together and work through our loneliness and isolation, for there was no isolation when we came to the realization that we were a tribe, that we would not survive without working together, that we would not survive without sharing our secrets, without telling our dreams, and interpreting certain disastrous complications that had come our way when we were being, I'm seeing like petty, or people deciding to not talk about things, and then things happened. And so it was important to talk about the mistakes that were seen as mistakes, so that the tribe could learn together in order to grow together, unifying on the earth plane and playing with the unification of Mother Earth, sharing our stories, sharing our creations, and creating towards something independently whole. So I'm being shown all these different tribes, and I'm seeing them come together and have like a powwow and show the different drums and show and sell and like trade different wares, you know. And that was the way of it. And then we would go back to our different homes. And also the gifts that were brought to the table could be, I'm seeing people meditating and they came to realizations like the shamans, and then they would share the realizations that they understood about the star alignments. They would have dreams about herbs, and they would practice the medicine walk in order to connect with the earth, to learn where the herbs were located. They would dream about the different potentials and sounds and frequencies and songs that the herbs carried from the mother to her children, passed down from generation to generation. And how we interpret and the different ways of interpretation. And this is still inside every one of us, every single one of us, all in oneness. We are a walking, breathing organism held within an organizational pattern of frequency and geometries, held within a centripetal, I always mispronounce that. I think I pronounced it right. Force, unified field of frequency, communicating with one another. It is time to come together and to take charge of our birthright. I'm seeing this is a play on words as well, like a right angle, the right, so much. Like when we birth naturally, we have the right to breathe air. We have the right to work with earth. We have the right to hold communities and be with oneness. And that's all there is to it. We have created so much confusion based on a diluted sense of self. Play on words, diluted and also diluted, which I've talked about before. We are coming back to the condensed variation. I'm being shown bone broth, like it gels. It's now condensed and holds all of this energy. And we're basically coming back to that, and who we are, who we were, who we are now holds the codes of who we were. For our brothers and sisters have passed down through our living library that we all have access to, that we are all accessing now, that is all within us, that we are all able to tune into. And we are being invited to tune into that and make that a priority. It is time to step away from the old hypocrisy and the old system that no longer holds the value for the codes that each one of us is giving birth to, that each one of us is activated into, that each one of us is remembering and recognizing. For in this recognition, in this recognation, in this coming together, we remove the cog from the wheel. We remove that which has been stepped over, play on words, and we move into a greater path of least resistance. For the reason so many of us feel such strong resistance is because we have been misguided. Yet this is also a misnomer, if you will. It is no longer relevant in some versions and vibrations of reality. For some, it is. But we speak now to those code holders, to those brothers and sisters who are aware that we are already in this greater state of union. We are already working on higher levels to embody this higher level of atonement at ONEness, to then create this greater efficiency of communication with all things. I'm being shown all things. Like, I'm seeing some of us are chemists, some of us are and scientists. Some of us are communicating now through the Akash to learn new mathematical queries, for example, answers to questions long unanswered. And this has been coming up a lot. There are astrologists and astronomers looking at the alignment of the planets and looking at the face of the sun and seeing through it. There are those who are politicians who are now coming into a new framework of political correctness, play on words, core, being erect in the core and stabilizing the frequencies, not just from, I'm seeing radiating out a new sense of truth and well-being. And they are, I'm being guided just to share, they are our ancestors, reborn again into this timeline, into this frequency. And we have yet to show up to the masses, yet we are here en masse, in mass, on this mass called the earth. And we are ringing our bells, so to speak. And there is a greater sound that can be heard from the heart. There is a greater sound that is opening the hearts of even those who know not yet the path that they fulfill. For those of us who are in tune with this, are igniting our own path, which then in tune, intonates, intone at ONEness, atones with, in turn, opens and activates more channels, more portals, more remembrances, more books, layers, stories of the Akash, more chemical subsets, more codexes become available to all. For that is our ultimate experience from one perspective, to experience the full stream that we have access to, that we are offering in our own way. And I'm being shown a tribe. Everyone has their roles. Let us elaborate on this a bit more fully. For many of us feel our roles have been chosen for us, and perhaps in other realities they have. And perhaps in this reality, you have chosen a particular role, yet we are being reminded that many roles have reversed. I'm hearing flip it and reverse it. And many roles were based on a particular archaeometry, play on words, archaeology, architectural blueprint, mapping system, that was based on a particular architectural blueprint that has been remapped, rewired, transfigured, transformed, and is forming as we speak. For we are constantly, I'm just hearing for everything turn, turn, turn. There, what is it? There is a season, turn, turn, turn. I'm sure there's more to that. And we have grown. We continue to grow. We continue to expand. We continue to expel and express that which is hidden deep within. And as this beautiful information comes in, comes up, comes out, with it must come up and come out all self-doubt, confusion, beliefs, systems, binding networks, false realities, fear, all that is attached to who we were. All of that must be, I'm hearing confiscated. That's a play on words. It must be integrated and removed so that it may be utilized from one perspective. And many of you are utilizing it now, whether you recognize it or not, as the example of the tribe that speaks about their losses, gains. I'm seeing like, we didn't harvest the crops right, and this is what happened. So now we harvest the crops this way. And then the shaman or medicine worker says, well, I dreamed last night of this particular. And then they work on it together in a meditation. And someone else says, I see it too. Oh, but I see it this way. And that becomes a collaboration for them to say, let us combine our resources. For we all hold our own ancestral beauty. Let us gift each other with these gifts. Let us own up to who we are. Let us own our own abilities without pressuring. I'm seeing this as like depression and pressing it on somebody else. Let us just be in this open collaboration of community and availability of resources. This in itself will change the world. And we invite you to recognize that this within is within your own self. For if you are not in collaboration with your own thoughts, feelings, body, composition, actions, words, then you are not giving yourself the gift of your own truth, of your own abilities. And while this may be a temporary position, if you continually position yourself in the way of yourself, it becomes your composition that you then believe is your reality. And we seek out the composers. We seek out the maestros. We seek out the composers who are the masters of their own composition, yet they are not here to master and dominate or control the composition of others' own composition. We are all working on our own symphony, and we all take turns in directing the orchestra. For this direction can come from all angles and directions. If working in harmony, we recognize when to let go, when to step back, and when to step up. For in flow, we feel when it is the time to be and fulfill that role. And so we offer a roll call. Are we present? Are we here within our own bodies? Are we hearing what our own bodies are feeling, are telling us? Are we here, present, recognizing what the earth is truly, play on words, what the earth truly is to us, and what the earth truly is offering us in her own role, in her own orchestration? Are we tuning into that pattern recognition. Ti wowe ne kumo owe ti ste ne kumo owe ti ni kunne wa awa ste ni kia te waha ne e wa ne wa ne ki mo kuno wa etina. Kuste. For as we come into tune with this, we come into tune with our inner tuition, our inner education, our inner tuition, intuition, the true tuition that we play for, that is not attached to an outside source value system, that is intrinsically interwoven within our own abilities. And as we come back to this ability to see, our own ability to hear, our own know ability, now ability, nobility, our own ability to see and hear clearly now, to be in presence with ourselves. For in this presence, we then become a clear conduit, a clear reflection, a clear frequency that lights up our space, that lights up our frequency grids in a composition of peace and clear and present recognition. Newa aneste kumo enea kune e enekia diste kuene ki ua at ek iak o stene. We tune our energy and we use our energy for the wisest capacity available to us. Shewawa te mo koene. Ne kumoe ti stu muku moe te ne. Te ku ni wawa e te muku ne te wae te moa. Kumoe awa te kia hao moa ya ne kia. May the human be blessed at this time, on this quest, as we walk this earth together, as we unearth together that which is buried, that which is here to be expressed and expelled. Deshtur ashtukur. May we be blessed in our own journey. May we see clearly on this path and recognize all paths of harmonious interaction and communication with one another as one, seeing that in another. Koe kumo etene. the time is now. Maybe we be present. And so it is. So it is. In love and light, brothers and sisters. Namaste.